Hi, this is Tabletop Templar, and welcome back to another Spotlight series where I talk about a game from my collection and show you the game and give you my thoughts on it. So, today we're going to look at a classic game from Avalon Hill from 1985. It's Dark Emperor. This is actually one of my favorite games, and I just like it because it's fantasy and it's so different. There's just really not a whole lot else that's out there that kind of covers this period, especially when this game came out in the mid 80s. I just really haven't seen anything like it. And it has a very unique board that I'll show you the rest of in a second. Um, and it really is basically a story about this necromancer, and he was banished long ago to this other realm, and then centuries he was kind of biding his time, and there was this empire, and the empire they're all humans, and it sort of fragmented, and so this is sort of the opportunity for the emperor to invade and take back the land, try to take it over. It's really cool. It's really a two-player game. You could play it with more, although really it's two, and certainly you could play it solo as well. But this is a really good two-player game. It's not super long, um, but it definitely you need a little bit of knowledge about the game first. Definitely play through it the first time, and there is one thing you're gonna want to get. What we want to do before you play this, if you do manage to get a copy, there is one critical um, flaw of this game, and I'm going to show you that in just a second. So in the original game, they had the attrition table, and as you can see right here, um, it has the attrition points. Basically, what they do is you essentially have, well, theoretically unlimited movement, although you really don't, in a way. You, if you want to move a force, an army, along the map, you add up of course you have the kind of units that you've got, and so if it's like infantry or cavalry or whatever, and then the kind of if it's a green hex, then it's the better one to move on. If it's a mountain hex, then it's going to add up more. So anyway, you add up all their points, how much you've accumulated, and then you roll your die, and these are how many units you got to get rid of. It can be very, it's very, you lose a lot of guys just moving around, and that was the main problem with the game, is that it was just it was too unforgiving. And in the designer's notes, he mentions that he was basing it off of real world attrition, and yeah, that's all fine and good, but I mean, it doesn't really make for a fun game if you're just losing unit after unit, and you really can't get into combat. And so really it kind of got to the point where you almost have to move like one space at a time just to avoid losing troops. It's kind of comical, but there was a fix in the general magazine, and you can find it. So what you want to do, if you get the copy of this game, if you've already got it, and you say maybe you've written it off a long time ago and said, "Oh, I'll never play that again," or maybe you get it for the first time, what you're gonna want to do, go on Board Game Geek and download this, print it off or whatever. Download this article. It's on Board Game Geek. You can print it off, and the reason why is you're gonna want this attrition table. It's a new attrition table, and it's far more. Wait, that's not the attrition table. I'm sorry, wrong one. The, you're gonna want this. This is the new attrition table, and it's far more friendly. It's far more, more forgiving, I should say. Get this one, and it'll make the game a million times better. It also has some other, variants you can add to it. It has a lot of good stuff. Options like for like a militia, and setting. I don't know, just all kinds of different stuff. And it also adds new spells. Because some of the magic. What's the word? The magic orders. I don't know. The magic. What do you want to call it? The magic types, like right here. You've got life and death, serenity, terror, air, earth, water, fire, metal, wood. There was two of them that didn't have multiple spells, and so it kind of evens it out. And so characters can perform, if they have magic, they can perform magic. And I think it was wood and metal. Yeah, that's right. It gave them each another spell, because all the other ones, I mean, they all have a counter because they can counter each other. But all the other types, like earth has move earth, and then open chasm. Air has call wind and fly. Water has part sea and maelstrom. And fire, wall of flames, and incinerate. Whereas wood and metal didn't only had the one spell. So this is an interesting board. And you can see the red. These are the different kingdoms. So this is Starkeep. And so what you're doing is the So this, I didn't set it up because it takes a bit to set up, but I didn't want to set it up yet, but what all this will be set up, but everyone's inactive. So if you're the kingdoms player, you basically have nothing active. So the necromancer is going to have a stack of armies, and he chooses any spot on the entire board. It could be the capital city, and actually you want it to be a capital city of one of the kingdoms. And you're going to drop it on. A portal opens. The army of vampires and the necromancer just comes in and just unleashes hell on whatever poor city they choose. And hopefully, if you're going to probably win that battle, and then whatever kingdom you enter, that kingdom is now activated because they just got attacked, they just got invaded, and so you're going to want to choose a kingdom to do it. Now there's the empire, which is here. You can't really see it. It has a big long name, and that's the other thing. The names of these, some of them can be really kind of crazy. Starkeep, that's pretty easy. And then Star's End, that's the capital. And then Star's Loss. And so there's different symbols that will have different magic. And then there's different places around the world that will have different like magic items that you can get that's hidden. But then also can have magic creatures. And some of the creatures you can you can fight them, but then you also could potentially recruit them to your side, which is really crazy. It's just a really cool game. I definitely, if you could find a copy of this, I would get it, especially if you like fantasy and you like the older CTR kind of games. Get this game, of course, with the required. I would get that new attrition table. Don't play by the original attrition rules. Just don't. I mean, you could, but then it won't be very fun. I think it just need that tweak. And there's all the other optional rules that could really give you a ton of different variety. This is a really cool game. It has a really interesting map. And the backstory for this game is that it's on a planet that's been bombarded by asteroids. So it's created this kind of map, and I just never seen anything like this. Um, and then there's even a pan over here. There's another kingdom over here. So there's some small kingdoms, and then there's mercenaries over here. I can move this closer. And then these are the mercenaries, and then the different nationalities. These are all the different kingdoms. And you have the necromancer. It's the necromancer against everyone. The necromancer can potentially recruit kingdoms, although there's only I think one. I can actually look in the diplomacy table. So this is the diplomacy table. So you're actually sending out. You have the necromancer, and then he has two kind of lieutenants. One of them is a vampire lord, and the other one is like is described as an avatar of a goddess, basically just a wizard or a witch, a powerful one. And so you can see the necromancer gets negative penalties to try to recruit almost everyone. Starkeep, they're kind of like the holy people. They're like I don't know, they're not elves, but I kind of consider them almost like the elves or like Rivendell. Like, I mean, they're not going to join the bad guys. They're the least likely. But there are a few sluggins in that Toth. Those are creatures, so they're more likely to go. And then some of these are mercenaries. I think, yeah, Tal Plator has a +1 modifier. They're slightly like they can go to the necromancer. And then everything else, there's one mercenary, Fernand Conover, and then Silwer Flagriel has a pretty good likelihood of going. So yeah, there's you'd put these are mercenary forces, so you'd put them here. They're off the board, and then when you recruit them, then you can bring them on to where you want to be. I think they have to go to whoever recruited them. I don't think they can go anywhere. Um, yeah, and a roll of 10 yields an alliance, so that's what you're looking for. Two dice, 2d6. So the kingdom's Starkeep is going to be the one that's going to get. So what you do is you have to um, physically get one of your heroes to go there, to go to the. So you won't have one of the, you have armies and even navies. The heroes can then, if once they're active, then you can use all of the stuff, the heroes plus the troops, but only heroes can go, and they're trying to go and to activate the other kingdoms, whoever they are. So you kind of want to, wake everyone up and then get them to your side. Then you can use those heroes to then go around and try to get more in the alliance, all while trying to have some force to try to slow down the necromancer while you get everyone kind of woken up and getting ready to fight the necromancer. So the necromancer uses vampire troops, which is the initial force, and they use undead. So around the I don't know if you can see, but around the world, there are these battle markers. So what you would do is you'd put these down, and they correspond to this certain hex, and they represent battles. So what the necromancer can do is show up there and try to resurrect the dead and get more troops, and they would get undead troops. And then there's different battles, Fallen Standard and the Battle of Farnost. and all around the world to try to get these resurrected. And there's even naval battles. And so they can get undead navies. So I just really like this game. It's really cool. I've unfortunately never seen... never seen anything like this before or since. There is one other game that I've seen, but I don't own, that has similar, that is like fantasy and uses this kind of style. Not this map or this world, but it's I can't remember the name of it. But there's one other, but it's kind of expensive to get. This one I've seen some copies for, but obviously this is long gone out of print. I recommend it if you can find a copy of this game. I think this is a lot of fun. And I will show you the tokens. The counters, I should say. I haven't sorted these. I bought this second hand. I bought this at a local game store. And so you can see this is one of the... I can't remember what nationality he is. It doesn't want to focus. Sorry. But on the back of everyone is an undead. Alright, let's see if I can... Oh, there you go. You can see him. One skeleton. And so yeah, if he gets killed, then you become a skeleton. If he gets resurrected, I'm sorry, if he gets, the necromancer would have to resurrect him. Then here's the navies. Here, I'll just take this off. So the navies, and then these are the imperial, or these are the battlefield markers, and then there's two like old imperial legions, and then this is, you'd put this on certain areas that it could become a... Yeah, here's the creature. This is one of the monsters that you can fight or recruit, and that symbol means it's as a magic. So yeah, it's a really cool game. I recommend it. Yeah, these are the vampires. There's greater vampires, and then there's lesser vampires. So they'll have this vampire army that has to maintain so the vampires have to maintain a certain amount, and you can see these numbers, like for Starkeep 16, that's basically the population. And if you take it over, depending on the population, if it's low or if it's high enough, you might be able to recruit more vampires, but you have to maintain a certain amount of, you need a certain amount of control of population in order to get more. So that's kind of what you want to do. Starkeep might not be the best first option to invade. For the necromancer, they don't have a very high population, so if you take it, you can't get any new vampires, but you do want to recruit more vampires. If you don't kill the leaders of Starkeep are some of the best recruiters. So they could essentially go over there, wake up the Empire, and then now you have the Empire. Then they're going to start waking everyone up, and you're going to have to fight, and you're going to be stuck here. You're stuck at Starkeep with no other way. You're going to need to get a ship and to start transporting people over. The vampires can fly, but any of the undead that you get are not going to be able to fly over. So I would not recommend Starkeep. Pick another, a different kingdom. Don't attack the Empire, which is in the middle. I wouldn't attack them first. Pick a different another one to go after first. And ideally, if you do it right, you can kill the leaders. You want to kill the leaders, says the necromancer, and then so that way they can't recruit. They can't leave and try to wake anyone else up. Then finish off all their armies, and then prepare to invade the neighboring one, whichever one it is. So you want to put yourself in a position so you're not going through the empire, but you can try to pick off some of the other kingdoms first. So anyway, that's kind of what you want to do. That's the ideal. So, but because it's such an interesting board, it's not just a matter of just going over there. You might have to kind of navigate around the world. Um, and you've got this big ocean here, and you got some other cities. So you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're trapped as a necromancer. So the vampires can fly, and the all of the heroes can move anywhere. They don't have a movement limit essentially. The heroes can move in anywhere. They have unlimited movement. Um, by themselves. I mean, when they're with an army, they can't. But if you're the necromancer and you've got the skeletons, they cannot fly, obviously. So they're gonna need the skeleton boats. So you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're stranded, or you have to send an army over, and then they try to capture a boat and then send it back, and that will just delay you. So you want to try to pick a kingdom. A couple kingdoms are up here, maybe up at the north, above the empire, or over here, and then try to get it to where you can kind of go a couple different ways. So up here, these kingdoms up here, you can get to without cutting through the empire's borders. Anyway, I'm trying to think of what else to talk about. Yeah, if you have any questions about this game, feel free to post in the comments. Um, yeah, there's like production value. There's stacking limits. I think the newer the general magazine might have they have updated some of that. But yeah, this is the attrition cost. There's siege. That's right. Attacking a city without siege equipment is you pay a pretty steep penalty. So you're gonna want the siege trains. And here's the monsters. You can fight it in heroic combat. And then it's kind of cool that the best thing about this is the flavor of this world. This isn't just some generic fantasy world. This is one of the kingdoms, and it shows what you do for elections, because that particular kingdom is a republic, and so they could have a new doge, and there's different parties. There's the recruiting costs: infantry, cav, navy, siege train, and a rock rider, and then all of them have, on the flip side, the undead version of it. Um, yeah, it's just and then here there's a background of all of the different kingdoms, and it gives a history about them, which is really cool. It gives a real flavor to it, and you can tell that. Um, Here's the units. This is the Imperial Legion, Undead, Siege, Cav, and then there's Vampires, Rock Riders, Hounds, Navy, Monsters go under there. And there's magic weapons. So some way, though, the sword is would just grant you fighting and leadership, but then the sword of Farmir, but then the sword of Loslam is a really powerful one that gives you magic, and it has its own magic rune, so it can cast those kinds of spells with it. So it's really cool. And that's what these are. These are the rune. Those are the kinds of spells that they can cast. That's the other thing with the leaders is you want to, well, they're really important for diplomacy, and they can not just lead armies, but they can cast spells. So, um, yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah, any other questions about the game? Feel free to post in the comments. And I honestly really recommend this game. I think it's really one of my favorites. Um, it's a game that you can kind of play multiple times, and then figure out what kind of strategy you want. Maybe, oh, next time I'll attack this kingdom. Maybe I'll try it doing this. It One thing I will say about it is it definitely the necromancer is really dictating the what happens in the game. As the kingdoms player, you're being a little bit passive. You're based, and especially at the beginning, you might not be doing a lot or at all if the necromancer is wiping out the kingdoms before you can even activate. But eventually you will get to activate. But this definitely could be played solo as well. But what I would do if you have someone to play with, I would play it twice and swap sides, because it's a lot more fun to play the necromancer than the kingdoms. That's really, I would say, the only real downside to the game is it's definitely a reactionary uh, a role for the kingdoms player. So, but yeah, I think that's all for now. Yeah, any questions? Feel free to ask, and I'll catch you next time.